Don't get me wrong.
When was the last time you ate?
I had I think I had a yum yum, and I think I had a sandwich, and that was kind of, and then the rest. It's not for the weak, girls. If I'm honest, it was hard.
Ladies and gentlemen, my wife witnessed the collapse of society in a way because she can't believe a lady tries to sleep with 100 men in one day.
I don't know if I'd recommend it.
Why not?
I think if you're a different type of girl, it's very like, it's kind of like being a prostitute in a sense of like, it's just a different feeling. I don't know how to explain it, like...
It's not like just having sex with someone.
Yeah. Just one in, one out, like it feels intense.
Like more intense than you thought it might.
Definitely.
Why would she even define this? I'm not a weak person. Look what I might have done with 100 guys. Girls, don't do it. You have to be a different person. I don't know. I tried to explain to my wife this.
I think sometimes like feeling so like robotic, like by the, I think like the 30th, you know, like when we're getting on a bit, I've got like a routine of like how we're going to do this. And like it just, sometimes you'd like disassociate and be like, you know, like it's not like normal sex at all. In my head right now, I can think of like 5, 6 guys, 10 guys that I remember. And that's it. But it's just, I don't know, it's just weird, isn't it? Like, if I didn't have the videos, I wouldn't have known I've done 100, you know? But yeah. I think that was kind of the hard part, is like conversing with them and like when they'd kind of be like, oh, like we've only had 2 minutes or 3 minutes and you said 5 on the message.
Did someone say that to you?
Yeah. And obviously it just makes me feel so bad.
Do you think you should feel bad about that?
I guess when you've promised something to people who support you, it's kind of hard to let them down.
But it's up to you, right? Like when you know.
Yeah.
Have you even processed, do you think, what's happened?
Not yet. God, I won't forget this day, Jesus.
And I had to explain to my wife, because she didn't see this video, that some guys were busy about 2 minutes and told her, hey, you promised me 5 minutes, and she felt bad about it. I'm going to be empathetic because you're helping me as a friend to reach 100. My wife was destroyed. And then I had to tell her she's going to do 1,000.
I spent 14 consecutive hours getting ran through, and now I'm going to be doing 24 because I'm going to be going for the world record early February next year. I'm going to go for 1,000.
And the fact that I call this out in the wrong way, I'm attacking her. Look, these are men that go to trial, and these are men that's going to have funky. The problem is men. I'm like, yes, I know. The problem is men. But the idea that you keep walking in the same path where we see dumb men and you label all men, I'm like, hey, we have to be careful with these morals.
Have you ever received any scary message on here, that like something that frightened you or made you feel unsafe?
Some people's requests are sometimes way too much. Like I had literally last week, like, can you put a bag over your head and pretend to be like suffocated? It depends obviously on the request, but stuff like that I probably won't do. I don't want to encourage it. Like that for me, I don't think that's doing helping
What if someone
society.
offered you $1 million to do it?
I probably would bend my morals for that, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And I find it rather dangerous because she said, I don't want to encourage it.
I don't want to encourage it.
But then for $1 million, both of them were like, hey, I will do it too. So I'm thinking, who the heck is encouraging this? Are you really sad or are you really happy? Do you have a moral here or do you have a moral there? I don't know. Just like the government or your personal life. If you're going boom, beam, bam, boom, yeah, people are going to distrust you. That's my point with this video.
Some major breaking news. President Biden just pardoned 39 people and commuted roughly 1,500 sentences in the largest single-day act of clemency in American history. The commutations announced Thursday morning are for people who have served out home confinement sentences for at least 1 year after they were released. And those who received pardons had been convicted of nonviolent crimes such as drug offenses, and they turned their lives around. In a statement released by by the White House, President Biden said America was built on the promise of possibility and second chances. As president, I have the great privilege of extending mercy to people who have demonstrated remorse and rehabilitation, restoring opportunity for Americans to participate in daily life. Biden also said he'd be taking more steps in the weeks ahead and will continue to review clemency petitions. So this is a great move by President Biden, especially with all of those pardons for people who have really turned their lives around and are giving back to their communities. And this just adds to President Biden's fantastic legacy in office. I mean, just really, really good stuff.
And you might be saying, why do you have a moral issue with this thing? Well, very simple. Hey, old millennial liberal, explain it.
Yeah, Harry, one of the people he just granted clemency to was a man named Shanlin Jin. Mr. Shanlin Jin was arrested in January of 2021 for being in possession of more than 47,000 images of child porn. At Jin's trial, an FBI agent testified that Jin was connected to some very high-level members of the Chinese Communist Party. Now, not only did they discover that his IP address was used in sharing child through a peer-to-peer network, but they also found videos on his home computer depicting the essay of an infant by a grown man. And then when they actually executed the search warrant on his house, they found even more videos of infants and toddlers being raped by grown men. And Joe Biden just gave this guy clemency. This guy is being released from prison early because of Joe Biden. Yeah, Harry, I would just ask that you somehow justify that.
He just released a bunch of people from prison and then one has such a crime? I don't know. This pardon seems to be so empathetic.
We are way off. The entire political class is way off. First of all, digital is a new door knocking. You got to understand that. We were laughing our butts off at Donald Trump for suspending his door-knocking campaign and letting Charlie Kirk and Elon do a bunch of stuff online. We said, these guys are idiots. These guys are stupid. Then you start knocking on these doors. You know what people come to the door with? Their phone in their hand. They're in a 24-hour digital surround sound that has nothing to do with CNN, has nothing to do with any stuff that we do. I got a teenage son. I asked him, who are the most influential people in the world today? I'm thinking to myself, he's going to say Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z. He says, Kai Cent, Aiden Ross, Jinxie, and Sketch. I don't know who he's talking about. I said, what platforms are you on? He goes, I'm on Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. I said, that sounds like you need to go to the hospital. What are these platforms? I'm telling you guys, the mainstream has become fringe, and the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams, and we're on cable news getting 1 or 2 million. And so there is a whole world out there. Kellyanne Conway, I hate to agree with her, but I do a lot of times. Donald Trump understood that and we didn't. And it's not just Democrats that don't. The entire political class is way off, way off, way off.
You can't demonize people morally 24/7, make them play Minesweeper 24/7, and be surprised they don't want to be part of you because they can only be something else that's not them to be in your party. That's prison. That's slavery. That's like living with a parasite that tells you, I'm the boss. I choose where you're going while being the parasite too.
The news comes amidst a bombshell report from the Justice Department that revealed the FBI had at least 26 confidential informants on the ground when the Capitol was stormed on January 6, 2021. The report says most of the informants engaged in illegal activity during the chaos. The Justice Department says only 3 of its 26 informants present had been instructed to observe potential domestic terrorist suspects on the day of the riot. The rest of the 23 appeared to have gone to the Capitol on their own accord. Upon hearing news of the report, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance posted the following on X, quote, "For those keeping score at home, this was labeled a dangerous conspiracy theory months ago," end quote. Didn't hear anything about that for the election. Didn't hear anything about that when the quote-unquote insurrection was broached by Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee. The belief that Donald Trump was a danger to democracy and using this as a profound, illuminating bullet point to make that case.
And most people with common sense, just seeing certain patterns, are like, there's a great possibility that might be conspiracy. And that happened a lot to men. Do you want a good example?
I still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. This was a civil court. It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money, and I find that offensive.
I'm asking you
but
about
as
the man
a rape victim who's been shamed for years now because of her rape, you're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think it's offensive. As a woman, I find it offensive. For my political choices, I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying I'm shaming you.
You are. The question, it is. Disgusting.
No, I'm questioning your political choices because you're supporting
shaming me. You're trying
someone who's been found liable for rape. Actually, I'm not trying to shame you.
You are. That's exactly what you're doing.
You're not answering the question.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, you're welcome to say that, but you have to answer the question.
And guess what? This guy said this online, and guess what? They had to pay $50 million because of defamation against Trump.
And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money, and I find that offensive.
She's saying you shouldn't promote that message. It's negative for me. It's negative for the lady that's sleeping with 100 men. I'm like, whoa, why would I trust this guy anyway? He defended Bill Clinton.
Governor Clinton has a character problem, but I take it that your line of counterattack is that it's well, I mean, he has not denied that he has engaged in marital infidelity.
Bill Clinton's passed his character test throughout his life and throughout this campaign. And he's shown it through his commitments to real fights. And what he's going to do in this campaign is focus on what's important to the American people, on the jobs and the education. That's what the American people care about.
And then we find out you're not allowed to moderate because, you've donated to Bill Clinton. People don't like these models that keep switching up and down, ladies and gentlemen.
And now here we are yet again finding even more evidence to Donald Trump's claims when he articulated that the process is rigged. My big issue is that I'm really, really sick and tired of every time I turn around finding something else that the Democrats have lied about or downplayed or misrepresented along the way. I mean, I see Republicans like Megyn Kelly or Officer Tatum or Candace Owens.
Or Meat Puppet.
Or the Sean Hannitys of the world. You know what I'm getting tired of? You know what I'm getting to the Democratic Party? You know what I'm getting really pissed off about? I'm getting really ticked off at every time they open their mouth about something pertaining to y'all, they seem right to make the case that the right had a monopoly on insidious, evil tendencies, corrupt tendencies, duplicitous, hypocritical, untruthful tendencies.
So just like the black lady said that more black men voted for Trump, oh my God, that's why we lost. No, you didn't. You lost because there's not enough of you. But the messaging feels good if you say we lost because of black men. There's an issue. There's a moral collapse. If you're sowing evil for some, but you tell me it's a positive, joyous thing, I don't know if you can self-reflect or even understand how others might perceive it in a way. Other than say, well, maybe the Nazis. I don't think that's a good messaging. Oh, you can pardon people. You can be above the law. I'm going to pardon 50. Wow.
The mainstream media is the fringe, and the fringe is now the mainstream. How the hell did Donald Trump figure out? I mean, Joe Rogan is obvious, right? Like, we knew the guy had a big audience. It's not like we were, like, stunned. But, like, how the hell was he, the 78-year-old guy who doesn't even have a computer and still, like, writes handwritten notes, how did he become the guy who cracked the code on, to your point, running a cultural... I don't even want to say campaign. Running
it was a movement. Look,
heading a cultural movement versus a campaign.
Every one of your people knows Elon. Listen. So everybody keeps, I mean, the problem is you have a framework in your mind that how can Donald Trump? Guys, can we cut it out? Donald Trump is not an idiot. Donald Trump, let me just be very clear. Donald Trump is smarter than me, you, and all critics. You know why we know? Because he has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
Court, the popular vote. He has a massive media ecosystem bigger than the mainstream built around him and for him, and a religious fervor in a political movement around him. And his best buddy is the richest person in the history of the world, and the most relevant Kennedy is with him. This dude is a phenomenon. He is the most powerful human on earth and in our lifetime. And we're still saying, well, how was this guy? We look like idiots to ordinary.
You're totally right.
They lost because of this reason. Some people believe that human right is okay if somebody else works for it, so this person can have human right. And I'm like, what about the human right of the person that you forced to work? You lost Kennedy, you lost Elon Musk with all these weird rules that when they applied in California, everybody tries to leave with taxation. They hate it. But whenever you criticize it, oh, you're a right-winger, you want to give money to help people. I'm like, we want to, but to normalize it.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam. Durloqueta verdeta welcome.